Okay, so well done for making it to task 2. I feel like I'm stumbling over my words a little bit, but you know. Okay, so where we ended it with having this file here, we made this connection.php. We tested that out with an echo that we've since removed. And now we're going to concentrate on index.php. Okay, so index.php. One of the first things we have to do is, because what we want to do is we want to use all these details, for queries that we run in this page, because this is where our information is going to get echoed out. Okay. So under HTML, first things I want us to do is I want us to open and close some more PHP tags, and then I want us to write require once, and then open and close brackets, open and close quotation marks, always end it with a semicolon, require once, and we want to include or we require that file we made, this connection.php. So we notice in our includes folder, and then we put includes / because that's our file directory, connection.php. So that's going to require it, or require once. So there's a difference between include and require once. You can use all three of them in PHP, and although they would probably all have the same result for this little mini PHP thing that we're doing here, there are differences. I'll maybe give you it to look it up so you know what the differences are, but for the purposes of right now we're just going to move on. So we're saying to our index.php, okay, can you go into your includes folder please, can you get this connection.php, because we need this file for what we're about to do next. Just retouching that your title should have changed to whatever you're doing, so should this header here, and then down here we have our table. Okay, so that is what we are going to deal with now. So this is what it looks like at the minute, as I've showed you before. So you can see our headers, you can see our 3 content rows, and then again, if you look at the code, we can see our headers and our 3 content rows. What we're going to do is we're going to change those headers first of all. So I'm just going to remove those widths for now. Okay. So I've got 4 table headers. Let's have a look at my database, see what information I want them to display. So I'm going to display my name, my continents, my regions, and my codes. Sorry, I did that in a bad order. So my table headers want to be code, name, continent, and region. Excellent. So let's do that. So this first one here is going to be code. This one here is going to be name, continent, and region. So there are 4 pieces of information I want displayed for each entry in my database. The other thing is, because this is all going to be dynamic data, you know, because I think I've got almost every country in the world in my database. I'm not going to write out each row for this, that's ridiculous. So I'm going to delete them all, so I've just got one. And I'm just going to use this one row, this one content row, but I'm going to use it repeatedly to echo out different information for each of my database row entries. So this row will be repeated for each one of these. So there'll be one for Aruba, one for Afghanistan. Afghanistan's a very dangerous place at the minute, please don't go there. That was fundamental British values. Angola, that place, Anguilla, yeah, Albania, Andorra, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go back to this, and we're going to add a bit more PHP. So we've got these are going to be hard-coded, these aren't going to change. What we want to be echoing, what we want to be repeating out is this, just this table row. So under table body, we're going to open, and we're going to close our PHP tags. And we are going to make another variable because we like making variables, and we're going to call this SQL so we know exactly what it is. It's going to be an SQL query, and we're going to, no, I don't like them, so let's not do them. We're going to use them, end it in a semicolon because that's all we're doing. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab everything from the countries table. So we could be a bit more specific, and that would probably be faster as far as load time. But for the purpose of this basic example, we're going to select all, and you do all by putting a star. So a star stands for all from the country table. So select all from country. Brilliant. Then we need to execute that query for every row. So for each, so the PHP function for each, going to use our DB variable. Where did we set that DB variable? We set it in the connection PHP. So if we just flick to connection, here it is. Here's the connection, right? So using the DB variable, which has all our connection strings in it, I want you to run a query. And what query is that? That query is stored above it in a variable called SQL. And then we're going to put them into more variables called row. Okay? And then we're going to open a curly bracket. And then we're going to delete the closing curly bracket because we want to go through them. So we want to loop through each entry. For each entry, we want to loop through it and have, for every entry, have one of these. Okay? So what we actually want to do is after the table row, we want to open a close PHP. I'm going to close it like that. So we've wrapped this little chunk of HTML. We could actually echo all this out, so we don't have to open and close PHP tags all the time. We can actually echo out this HTML from the PHP. But I'm just, like I said, we're doing it simply. We've wrapped it around these curly brackets so it knows that it's just going to go through every row and display one of these for every row. Okay, that's brilliant. But currently, even though it's doing that, you won't see it. So if I copied my index over again and opened up my dynamic table, you see, we can see it's going, we can see those numbers increased. So even though I've only got one set of table row data, I've only got one, we can see that it's going through numbers, like so many. And the reason for that is it's actually doing one for every entry in my database, which is brilliant. You know, we know it's working there, so it's going through one for every one of these. What we can't see is the actual information, so you know, it's just duplicating that same content because it's hard-coded. So what we want to do is, instead of this generic placeholder information we have down here, like content goes here, we want to echo out some actually relevant information from the database. So we're going to delete all these because they do my heading, and we're going to write a new line. So new bit of PHP, which again, this is why echoing it out would be better, because I wouldn't have to keep opening and closing PHP tags because it would all be PHP. But so PHP, and we're going to echo, and we're going to echo instead of just a string this time, we're going to echo the row variable. But we don't want all of that because it would just be a spam of information, so we just want a certain part of the row. What part of the row do we want? Well, for this first one, this first column, we want the code. Okay, because that's the name of our database table, and that's important. So if I go to my database, code is called code with a capital C, name is called name with a capital N. Okay? So code with a capital C. So that's what we want to echo out. We save that, upload me index again. Again, you shouldn't have to do this, it should just be almost automatic in your web server. So this column here, this code, because we've told this to be dynamic by echoing out the code part of row, this should all change. So let's see if that works. And there we go. We can see that we're actually now echoing out the right information. So the first one is ABW. If we have a look at our database, just check that that's working. ABW Aruba. Brilliant. So when that's working, we just have to fill in the rest of the information. So what we can do, instead of typing it out all again, is copy, paste all that in. Obviously that will all but code, which isn't what we want, so we want name. And the reason I can copy these over is because I made sure they were named exactly like my database column rows. Column rows makes no sense, column headers. Okay, so just copy them over. Save it, upload it, go to this. So now, instead of these being blank, these should all have the relevant information again. Let's see if that works. There you go. So now we can see that it's actually echoing out all my information. Falkland Islands. And what it's doing is it's giving me the code, so that's a unique identifier, the name of the country, the continent, and the region. Excellent. So if you have done that and managed to echo out all the entries of your database, what we're doing there is the read part of the CRUD in a very crude, basic fashion, but it works, and if it works, it works. So that's the second part. So well done. Save that. Maybe shout us over and be like, look how cool what I've done is, and I'll be like, brilliant, let's move on. Cool.